right, traders, good afternoon. This is Christian from Trade Trade Group, and this is your end of day video, actually end of month video for September. It's the last trading day of the month. Tomorrow, Friday, we start a new month, October 1st. I'll talk a little bit about the performance on what we see on these on end of month days. Obviously, a little bit more pressure to the downside, more than usual this last trading day of the month, but I'll talk about that in a minute. First things first, disclaimer in front of you, everything that we're going through here is for information purposes only, not giving any advice or recommendations. The video is for education purposes only. All right, so let's talk about the performance for the day and the month. So, very similar to what we saw yesterday, in terms of overnight move and distribution during the day. So, tricky. And I tend to make more jokes when when the price action is not great, and instead of posting charts, I normally post charts at night. I do my review, which I still do, but if I don't really see a lot of setups, then I kind of tell a couple jokes. And the joke was last night, equity futures and green again in the overnight session, and it's just odd that that's happening. And here's my little, oh boy, here we go again, because really that's not what we want to see in terms of trading right now. Now, that is why the overnight session, we do see more gains than anything else. But after some nasty, price action during the day, we don't want to see futures up 30 or 40 basis points. It just invites selling and distribution. It just hasn't felt like the sellers have been finished. Will this last day of the month, end of trading, last trading day of the month, be that? It's too early to say. We do have some downside levels that are starting to kind of come into play here. We don't have any other VPOCs, I believe, on the 1 hour. The level that I had talked about that we were kind of holding for most of this week, or the middle of this week, which was 4340, that did get taken out, and we're very close. It looks like we closed right around that low of where we got to earlier in the month. So if we don't hold that, and that's kind of like shoestring, I don't have any more of these version point of controls down there. And then the next one that I see, is down here. So that could be where we are headed. We've got another one down here, and then we could be at the 200-day moving average too. I don't have the 100-day moving average. I know some people tend to look at that, but I generally look at the 50 and then the 200. But yeah, this trend is broken. In terms of above the 50-day moving average. The ultimate trend line, the 200-day moving average, is further down. So. We'll see if buyers kind of show up in this market. Am I surprised of the price action today? No, not at all. I just think these quarter ends, month ends, especially on a weak seasonal month, they stink. It's tough. And here's what I said today too. I said, besides, the overall indices, I want to see some names that we normally see buying the dip in, like a Microsoft, right? Microsoft just, towards the end of a correction, we tend to see some buying in this one, but just not yet. There should be a VPOC down here. I'm not sure why it's not showing up. Maybe just use a different time frame here. Let's try this. There it is. Sometimes if they're too close in time frame, but there's one 277. But to me, it just said, hey, if nobody's buying Microsoft yet, a pretty quality company. From time to time, it's one of those names where you do see the buying, the dip in, and I'm not seeing that, and we didn't see that, and we couldn't really hold yesterday that bottom of value, which was 285.25. So what this means is, not necessarily getting doom and gloom. It's just being patient, right, and keeping either a hedge on or more of a cash balance. And as well, what I've been doing for the better part of a week is taking shots on some names, making sure if they go through my stop price that I take them off. I tried that a couple times today. I liked what was going on in some names. But before I get to individual names, which I want to get to, I always start with the bigger picture. But here is the data. I do crunch this data, and I'm aware of this month-end type stuff that goes on. And that's been the situation. And I've shown this now in multiple charts. I don't really want to rehash this again because I talked about it yesterday. But you could see all of this stuff that's been going on in terms of red candles has been happening at the end of the month. If not the end of the month, it's the monthly options expiration, right? So it depends on the month. Sometimes it's that. This month it was both. We haven't really seen that too much, right? Here, and then here the last month. But if you go through each one of these, right? This was middle of the month, right? Right around option expiration. Middle of the month, option expiration. Option expiration. This one was end of month, right? This one was end of month too. So that's been kind of the story. It's either end of month, the last week of the month, and the last trading day of the month, or it's been the option expiration. Bottom line is the second half of months in 2021 have been really weak. On the flip side, and why I'm kind of like somewhat positive, is that even though the technicals look really bad here, they do not look good. We'll see if it invites some buying at some point during this month. It may not happen tomorrow, but here is the data so that you can look for yourself. This is in percentage terms, by the way. I think I did put it up here, but I didn't put it in the spreadsheet. But you could see last trading day of the month. Now this was there was a negative 2% last trading day of January. Last trading day of February down 0.5%. You do have a couple positives in here. Last trading day of the month for April, down almost 0.75%, or this was 0.5%, right? And then of course today, which was down 1.2%. All right, so that is, they've been tough. Not everyone. Last month it was flat for the last trading day of the month. And then if you look at the first trading day of the month, now obviously this is not filled in here because we don't have, September, the first of the month would be October. The last first day of the month wasn't great. It hasn't been great the last couple months, but you could see in the beginning, right, down 2% January on the last trading day of the month. February 1st, up 1.6%. Look at February, up 2.4%. March up 1%. So there is something to this. Now, again, it hasn't occurred. Maybe it's just because a product of the environment. That's really kind of tapered off since May, where we really haven't seen those big first of the month inflows. So that may be the case again tomorrow, but who knows? I stand ready for basically anything. But yes, I did want to put the numbers in front of you because some people think that I'm making this stuff up, but that's just the way it's been, and I realize that too in my P&L. I'm in the trading contest. Every month. What's the name of this trading contest? All right, so the trade. This is the one that I'm in. This is the financial competition. So I'm in this. So I noticed this because of course I have to report my P&L and show my brokerage statements to these guys every month, and I just I know that this happens at the end of the month because I'm up a certain percentage, and it fades away for me in the last week of the month. You would think by now I would just unwind all positions prior to the last week, but I still kind of try to fight through it, which is probably what I shouldn't be doing. But yeah, here's the contest. If you're interested in this, you can Google financial competitions. It's the first year that I've done it, so I did finish positive for the month of September. I will update tomorrow. I will update that tomorrow on Twitter. But I think this should be up year to date now. Let me just move this over so you can see. Year to date, I should be up right around 45% year to date. So again, that's off the highs of where I was the month. But hey, in a month where the S&P, what did we finish for the month here? S&P was down 4.8%. So again, I outperformed decently. Like I said, I was up much more kind of middle of the month. I took a little vacation, so I kind of missed out on a couple nice trading days. The Qs, so no excuses. It is what it is. But I did finish, positive for the month, and in a difficult month. So I want to talk about that a little bit more in detail in just a second. But the Qs finished 5.7% for the month, and I think IWM outperformed for the month. But again, down for the month, 2.7% for the month. So there you have your indices. I know everybody tends to look at this ETF. The ARK ETF was down 10% for the month. The IBD one, down 10% for the month. FFTY was down 2.4% for the month. We talked about this this group outperformed a couple weeks ago. This week, not so much. Was down about 10% this week. If we look at growth, what do I want to look at? VUG, Vanguard Growth, was down 5.5% for this month. So again, I'm looking at this right column. I have the date set here. But again, it's just interesting to kind of review the numbers. Value for the month probably outperformed a little bit, down 4% for the month. So this was a tough month, guys. So the way that I kind of look at things, taking a step back, is to basically try to do that. Try to outperform the market as possible. Realize when you're in a difficult market to kind of take your foot off the accelerator and taking risk. And a lot of paper cut losses for me. Not that many huge losses, but just trades where you get stopped out on a couple things for they go through your stop price, and as long as you're honoring that and being disciplined, then you may have had somewhat of a similar month that I had. And if you did really well this month and you stayed very disciplined and just stayed out of the market, congratulations to you. But I will tell you, as I normally say at the end of these difficult months, this is where you do learn and get better at trading. As long as you're reviewing and figuring out what you did wrong, what you did really well, and then going forward with this. But instead of like this attitude that's on Twitter about the market being rigged and all this, and oh my God, is the SEC going to help me? Really, trading is a difficult game, and it is that way over time. Now, we've experienced some very easier times to make money. Last year was one of those times after the big move down to the lows. And you have to take the good with the bad, and really try to improve as a trader, right? And sometimes it's just not fair, right, to see like the price action like it was today. You just have to realize that you can't control this stuff, right? You cannot control what the institutions are doing. You can't control why they're selling all this stuff at the end of the quarter, and probably going to buy it back at some point. So, and if you could profit from some of this on the downside by buying puts, so be it, right? You got to roll with what the price action is doing. So I have just never seen anything like this year before, where people think, all the time that they're crying about, oh, this fund did this and these hedge funds are doing this. I've never seen that before in trading, where people are blaming, other parties and saying, where is the SEC? I think for those that feel that way, I think overall you have to toughen up a little bit, and realize that we can't control these prices. You can control where you buy and where you sell, and how you make the decisions, and that's going to go a long way, right? And instead of playing, the victim card. So that's what I mean in terms of learning to improve, and realizing that sometimes this market is really not going to do what you want it to do, and you can't stay complacent, and you can't have diamond hands, and you can't have think that you're going to be right all the time. As I said this morning, and I talked about this in the pre-market session. I remain still, I've been using this expression, but I remain a little bit optimistic. and I look at the market, with the glass half full rather than half empty. We know that we've got a lot of issues. There's no doubt we've got a lot of issues going on. The all these global shortages right now and how this is going to be affecting companies. It's going to be a bumpy road, right? We haven't really seen this before in terms of, there was a headline today about China, which I don't fully understand. It's something I'm going to have to read up on. But they're saying, China orders top energy firms to secure supplies at all costs. So, like, there is a mad grab right now for, natural resources, raw materials, and to the likes of something that I've never heard, I've never seen headlines like this before. So, we're going to get through this together, and we're going to formulate a trading plan, and continue to kind of maximize where we can, and I'll talk a little bit about that now that I've mentioned a lot of things. Did this Nasdaq? Did we take out this VPOC down here? It's close. This might get taken out in the overnight session. We'll see. But overall, I would say hang in there. This last portion of the year, where we've basically have 3 more months to go, October, November, December. Try to wipe the slate clean. And what I've said to a couple people too in the trading room who are having a difficult time, don't if 2021 has been a difficult year for you, right? Then what I would start to really think about is 2022, right? And think about what your game plan is and how you're going to beat the market next year, right? What your approach is going to be. I would not get and I think I said this towards the end of last month too. Don't get hung up on performance, right? If this is the first couple years that you've been trading, right, you want to be learning and defining your process. It's one of the things that I said when I reported my numbers for this contest at the end of last month. I said, and I'm down. I'm in this category. I may change this. Where am I? I'm not in the stock division. Oh, I'm in this one. Yeah. So there's me in the enhanced growth division. By the way, right? This looks like I'm way back on the list. I'm not. Right? There's 337 entrants. People are just not putting in their results. So 337 entrants. There's only about I think about 60 or 70 people that are on this list, so that their results are being shown. So people, I guess, if they're down or whatever, they don't want to show the results, they're not doing it. So anyway, I'm here, you know, and what I said is this is great for competition. I wish more people would do this. But if you're in your first few years of trading, or trying to invest for, to do this as a professional, it should be more about the learning and getting your process down, right? I've talked about this. I was talking about this to somebody just yesterday, or sorry, it was this week, about following trades. We did a member webinar, and I said, you could look to kind of get the process down of what we're doing in the trading room, and there's various different traders that have different styles, right? And to kind of learn from them, and that's the nice thing about being able to do that now. There's a lot more resources that there were too. I mean, it's great to be in our trading room and to see so many good traders post their entries and their exits, and you get a feel. And we had a really great webinar with one of our star traders in the room, talking about his process and what he does. But the game plan is to kind of pull from different people, because everybody's different. Everybody's personality is different. Everybody's risk tolerance is different. So you can't just copy, and I heard this term, you can't borrow someone else's conviction, right? You need to obviously start someplace, right, and develop. But really where you want to get to is to develop your own style, and that takes time. So I would say, regardless of where you are in terms of performance this year, you got to start to kind of think about 2022 and in how you're going to be trading that, and making improvements, because we all need to make improvements. Nobody ever gets in this game, no matter if they've been trading for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, right? There's always things that are that you're always battling with, in terms of trading. So there's always improvements that can be made. You never get to a point where you figure this game out perfectly. So it's always a battle every single day and every week, every month. All right, guys. So no, we still have this version point of control still left there. I wanted to talk about a couple things that I thought were interesting. Again, we'll have to kind of just see if these things materialize once we get towards to the new month. But energy was strong. This XLE actually ended up down 1.5%, but I still like what's going on here. A couple charts that I'm interested in this group is CPE. This thing finished fine, up 30 basis points. Has seen a lot of positioning in the energy space. A couple other names that have been seeing the call buying is Devon Energy. Right, Devon Energy still looks good. Cheniere looks good. Oxy, which I took a position in today, again finished down 1.5% as well, and I'll honor a stop. But I do like the little flag that this is putting in here. It just kind of has to hold here and then start to move higher. The uranium stocks started to kind of move higher today too. Now they didn't close on the highs, but CCJ is a big portion of that URA. Right, this thing did finish up 5.6%. So try to make the turn here, and that's kind of what we're looking for, is for things to kind of to make the turn. BTU, which I believe they're more involved in coal. This did get above the value area. Now we're going to have a new value area for the month of October, but I'm seeing some things that look pretty decent here. The agriculture names too. Where did Mosaic finish? I don't have anything here, but I'm watching the group. We'll see if this kind of comes in a little bit and holds. May need a couple more days. And then, of course, where these software names are. Team finished up 1% for the day. Notice that buyers kind of came back in a little bit to this today. MDB is another one. Notice where this is a stock that we talked about in the webinar the other night. Notice that this held the breakout. So we'll see if this may take a little bit more time. And then if you move over to the some of the medical device companies, in mode I took another target in this one right around the open. Made sure that I did that today. TMO is another one that I'm watching. Again, a lot of these things gave back their gains earlier in the day, but that's one that I'll be watching. It's still kind of holding this previous support near. If not, it might be headed back down to the 50-day moving average. In that case, I'll be watching it. All right. So that was something that I said earlier in the trading room too. Was, hey, this is right now while we've got this distribution going on. It's more for me about setting alerts and watching and paying attention to what names will get bought, because I'm not predicting a crash I'm not thinking a crash or anything like that. I think there will be some names that funds are going to go after on the dip. All right. One other thing I would say that's been concerning, which we've talked about this a few times, is we just haven't seen a put call ratio. Equity put call ratio that has really been like capitulation. Now I don't have the numbers yet because the CBOE doesn't publish them officially till about like 7 o'clock at night. But take a look. Like we've seen, the put call ratio get over 0.5. It closed up 0.51 yesterday, but we're not seeing like a big spike in fear. Right? That's what we haven't seen yet. All right. We'll see what the numbers were for today. Maybe I really want to see the number get above 0.6. That would show me that there's some fear in this market. I did start to see some bigger index put buying in the morning today. So, maybe that, even though that won't come up in the equity put call ratio, but we'll see, because if not, we're just not seeing that capitulation selling. So just have to be patient, right? And let that play out, and not get too banged up in terms of P&L watching this happen. I always show my trades. I'm probably, if you watch people's videos or watch what they do on Twitter, I'm probably the only one. I don't know anybody else who does this. I could be wrong, but here's my trade blotter for the day. You can see there's some mistakes in here, and there's some things that I did right. INMD taking a target right in the beginning of the day at 167, getting out of Datadog right around the open. Where did Datadog? This is another one that I want to keep an eye on. It actually finished pretty decently for the day, up 2.3% for the day. But again, any time in this situation where we come in and the market is up, I want to be selling, all right, as much as I can. All right. I tried a couple other things. Ozark, I thought it was a pretty good looking chart. So again, I'll take shots on things. This this obviously didn't work. Went higher for the day. Right around where I bought it, and I stopped myself out once I saw that the market was too difficult, right? Because we don't know what kind of day that we're going to get. And then just did a little bit of day trading here and there, and then just took stops on a couple other things too. Right, this Morgan Stanley was one that the stop was actually 100, and I was just giving it a shot, and then there was some bad news that came out, and at least I missed the last, the low of the move. But I wanted this thing to kind of hang on to the value area, and once I saw that it wasn't going to do that, I ditched it. So again, that's what it's about right now. Is for me giving a try to some things, but realizing when they're not going to work. All right, guys. The last thing that I'll say too is we've really been using the technicals to help us. I said this earlier in the room. I said, watch when we came back this afternoon, right around this 2 o'clock time frame. I said, watch where and I think some traders listen to me. I said, watch this retest. Right, 4340 was as high as we went, and we got another firm rejection off of that. Right, and that's been helping a lot. Right, I've been talking about different levels to really pay attention to, because it's hard when we've got this type of distribution for us to kind of regain levels. So that was a great place to sell, that retest of 4340. Right, I think we saw a couple retests like that yesterday. Maybe I'm thinking of it. All I know is I know we had problems with 4370 yesterday. So in any event, patience, and end a month, and let's move on to the next month and crush it in October, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.